Hello everyone, I'm Black Marvin. I'm a progressive psychedelic trance producer. I'm a teacher for electronic music production, and I'm also a vintage analog synthesizer enthusiast. Usually I try to do some short introduction and go straight to the point. That's how I like to do things. But today it might be a bit more difficult, but I'll try my best. A couple times ago, I did a video about how to recreate the CS80 synthesizer inside Vital, and apparently you really liked it. And since I'm a vintage synthesizer enthusiast, I decided I should try to do another one. And my eyes got stuck on the Prophet 5 synthesizer, which is really nice. In the other video, I really tried to recreate the Blade Runner style synth, but in this one, I didn't focus on any iconic sequence rather than just trying to make Vital sound like the Prophet would. In order to do that, I used some Wavetables by Fractal Sounds. It's coming from a pack called The Prophecy. It's a pack of analog wavetables. The pack is not out yet though, but the guys at Fractal Sound, they set it up a waiting list link for you. So if you want to make sure you get early access and you don't miss that release, there's a link in the description and you can subscribe so you won't miss that amazing product when it's gonna be out. I also had some really good feedback on my latest track called New Sun, specifically regarding the synths. Some of you thought that I was using some hardware synths, which I did not in this case, but I have a Virus TI, and let me know if you want to see me try to recreate the Virus TI inside Vital. That would be a good challenge, and let me know if you're interested to see it in the comment. And I think that's all for the introduction. Let's go. First thing first, well, actually, fun things first. Let's hear how the final result sounds. I really love the synthwave atmosphere and vintage feeling that I was able to get with this. So this is the final result, obviously, and we're sort of going to reverse engineer it together and understand what's going on and why we can make it sound like this. So I'm just going to reboot everything and walk it through with you. One of the very important aspect of this preset here and why it sounds like the Prophet is this saw wave. Even though it's not a saw wave per se, it does sound like it's in the realm of saw waves. And actually the Prophet can sometimes have that nosy sounds, like that nosy saw sounds, and that's basically it. You know, if we listen to it, it does sound like a saw wave, but a bit thinner and a bit nosier. There's also some unison right here, so that's mono, and with the unison, which is just a little, just to get that touch. So we get that nosy saw, right? And yeah, that's the saw number 5 from the Wavetable pack that I'm working on for Fractal Sounds. Also, if we just go through the Wavetable, there's some pulse width modulation going on. So there's an LFO modulating that. So you can see that there's a bit of pulse width modulation action going on. And that's pretty much it for oscillator 1, but really that timbre here is a big part of why it sounds like the Prophet, in my opinion. Now let's go to oscillator number 2. This one is actually, originally, it's that saw wavetable here. Again, it's another saw of many saw from the pack, and like the first one, it sounds like a saw wave, but you can see that it's not a pure digital one, and that's the beauty of it. This one, though, has there's some spectral morph, there's some random amp, and it was about something about here, and it acts like a bit of a frequency modulation type thing. So you can listen to how it sounds.
Yeah, so I think it was about right here, but you know, it's similar to where it was. And yeah, there's a bit of a bend here on the wave, and there's an LFO modulating the band, so that sounds like this. Yeah, I think it was more subtle, because if we bring it up, you can hear that the FM portion of the sound sounds like thicker, and that's not necessarily what we want. We want something subtle. Yeah, there's just a bit that small wiggle that gives a dirt and texture and contributes to that feeling of the you know, the sound not being perfect, but being like rich and dirty at the same time. And also on this one was at 6 voices of unison, so a bit wider. For the moment, there's no filter engaged yet. I'm gonna show you oscillator 3 right here. Oscillator 3 here is a sine wave, because I wanted that keyboard vibe that the Prophet has. If you listen to in the Prophet 5, there's a lot of patches that have that keyboardish vibe to it, and I wanted that, so I brought in this one. So it sounds like this solo. Surprise, surprise, it's a saw wave, but in the mix, it really adds that, like I said, that keyboard vibe. And with that macro here, you can bring it up. The fact that it's like higher, it, you know, contributes even more to the keyboard feeling. And in this situation, it just, you know, it's like the foundation of that preset, sort of. We could have swapped it for something else, and it would alter the preset in a nice way, I think, but I'm gonna stay with this one. Now let's engage the filter. I chose analog 24 dB per octave, and everything is going through it, and there's a drive. There's a lot of drive on it. Now on the motion of the filter, there is there is that envelope 3, which is just basically giving a envelope sweep of the filter. And after that, there's some small LFO movement right here. That is, it's not much, but it brings a bit more, you know, movement. It's not just like that static envelope. It changes a bit over time, but not too much. Well, you know, after the envelope, you can kind of hear it just going up and down, opening up and closing. That's it for the filter. And just by curiosity, let's check, let's compare with the ladder one, which is another one I use often when I'm trying to achieve analog synths. Yeah, they are similar. I'm gonna stay with the analog one. Also, it's very subtle, but you should note that there's something going on here with the random modulator and the tune. You know, there's some very subtle tune change. It's coming from that modulation here. So the random one is affecting both these tuning, and it's bringing just a bit of instability on the pitch, and that's something you often have on analog synthesizers. And you have, you know, just this one is on the random 2, again, to have more randomness, so they don't all move to the same thing. So it adds a bit more natural and organic feel, which is something you have in the analog realm. That's it for the first page. Now let's go to the effects. First, there's that multi-band compressor, which I really like, but be careful with this one, because if you put too much, you can see that the mix is here. So I'm gonna bypass it for you. That type of multi-band compressor really bring up the sound, and it sounds good, but it can sometimes contribute to that EDM-ish feeling, you know, that modern electronic music sound. So if you put too much of this one, you can kind of take that analog vibe away, so be careful with that. Now there's a delay, and there's a specific routing of these effects, and that's on purpose. The cutoff is not the first one because I don't want the multiband compressor to affect the chorus too much. So that delay here is on ping pong mode, and that's a classic 1/8. It sounds like this. Gives a nice bounce, subtle but present. After that, there's the chorus right here on 16 voices. There's the filter spread is around here. It can add to the analog aesthetic, but it can also sometimes, too much is gonna sort of drown the sound. Now with the EQ, there's if you remember, I was telling you about this saw here, and I was describing it at nosy. And that's usually how these nosy frequency, they kind of pinch around here. So I'm gonna bypass the EQ for you, but there's definitely, I can show you actually. I'm gonna show you these frequency here that they are problematic. So I'll remove some of them. And let's bypass the whole EQ now. The sound does feel softer now. You can see that there's a lift on the high frequency right here, but you can also see that there's a cutoff macro knob which is linked just to the cutoff. It's super simple. I used it a bit in the demonstration, and you can see that I linked the cutoff knob, macro knob, to the shelf right here. So you can see that when I open the cutoff, since the synth is becoming very bright, there's some sort of like compensation on the EQ going on. And finally, not even flanger, phaser, just some good old reverb. I wanted to keep this clean. I could, of course, add some flanger and some phaser, but yeah, I just went with this one. I put more time and a bigger size on that reverb, and sounds like this. It really adds a nice dimension to it.
And that's it for this video. Like I said, I'm a progressive psychedelic trance producer, but I'm also a big vintage analog synthesizer enthusiast. So I like to do these kind of video, these kind of challenges. And let me know if you think I did a good job recreating the Prophet in this video, the sound of the Prophet. It was hard to, pinpoint one preset. I tried to just, recreate something that would sound like the Prophet. So let me know what you think. And also, if you need some one-to-one mentoring, some group lessons, and just some help, some feedback, please consider joining my community of students. The link is in the description too. And if you want to push your sound design further, also, if you don't want to miss some content like this, some sound design content, some mixing content, and some exciting stuff, don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. And until then, I will see you in another video. Cheers.